El Salvador, the Central American nation infamous for brutal gang wars, has transferred 2,000 people accused of gang membership to a recently opened mega prison. This move is a part of the government crackdown on the rampant gang violence and the tough battle that has plagued El Salvador for far too long. In a video tweeted by the president of the country, Nayib Bukele, prisoners were seen wearing white shorts and with their heads shaved running into cells. Many had tattoos of their respective gangs, that is the most important marker of their gang affiliation. Today in this video, we take a look at this mega prison and explain to you the history of the never-ending gang violence that has become ubiquitous in this country. But before that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Oneindia. This mega prison is located 74 kilometers southeast of the capital, San Salvador, and is also being called the Center for the Confinement of Terrorism. It consists of 8 buildings made of reinforced concrete. Each of the buildings has 32 cells of about 100 square meters, that is 1075 square feet, and each cell is designed to hold more than 100 inmates. Each cell has only 2 sinks and 2 toilets. There are only 80 metal bunks for every 100 prisoners. This mega prison has the capacity of holding up to 40,000 prisoners within its compound and is considered to be the largest prison in the Americas. While the prison is equipped with dining halls, exercise rooms and table tennis tables, they are exclusively for guards' use. Prisoners will be allowed to leave the cell only for the legal hearings by video conference or to be punished in a windowless and unlit isolation cell. They will have to be in their cells for all the remaining time. The prison is surrounded by a 36 feet high concrete wall and electric fences. The Sesot prison has been built in just 7 months and is part of the Bukele government's policy of zero tolerance and fighting against growing gang violence. A state of emergency was declared in El Salvador last March and has been constantly renewed. More than 60,000 people have since been arrested on suspicion of gang activity. Now, let's look at some data that tells how violent these gangs are and how blood flows like water due to the inter-gang rivalries here. The country went from having 6,000 active gang members in 2003 to an estimated 86,000 as of April last year. In 2015, El Salvador was called the homicide capital of the world, and in the same year, more than 3,830 people were murdered. The statistics for 2015 was 105 murders per 100,000, making it the most homicidal country on the planet. With that trend, data had suggested that the homicide rate was slated to pass 90 per 100,000 people in coming years, overtaking that of Honduras as the highest in the world. That would have made El Salvador almost 20 times deadlier than the US and 90 times deadlier than the UK. And of course, this comparison did not include violence in nations that are war-torn like Syria. Gang violence has been endemic in El Salvador for decades. The gangs here are referred as maras and the neighborhood they live in is referred as barrios. There are 2 main gangs that are always involved in a turf war. They are the MS-13, that is the Mara Salvatrucha, and its rival the 18th Street Gang or the Barrio 18. Both had originated from Los Angeles and then had spread through Central America. The MS-13 originated in Los Angeles, California in the 1970s, 80s, and originally it was set up to protect Salvadoran immigrants from other gangs in the Los Angeles area. The Barrio 18 first emerged as a small-time street gang in Los Angeles and took its current form in the 1980s after splitting from the Clanton 14 gang. Barrio 18 first earned notoriety for its role in riots following the acquittal of the police officers who brutally beat Rodney King, an African-American motorist. The problem was exported to El Salvador by the government of the United States. Both the MS-13 and Barrio 18 spread further south into Central America and Mexico, largely as a function of a change to US immigration policies in the mid-1990s. The policies had increased the number of criminal charges for which a foreign-born resident could have been deported to their country of origin. That new policy was applied aggressively to gangs in California, where many of the gang members were not US citizens. The deportations led to a sudden influx of members of both gangs in Central America, especially in El Salvador. And El Salvador was too weak and soft to deal with such massive influx. And with this, El Salvador became the new turf and the epicenter of the 2 gangs. For decades, the MS-13 and Barrio 18 brazenly controlled barrios, towns and villages across El Salvador. New members committed murders as part of their initiation and continued to kill to elevate their status in their clique or gang chapter. And it was not only other gangsters who were gunned down. Civilians could be murdered for simply walking on the wrong street. Salvadoran gangs forcibly recruited children and sexually assaulted, killed, abducted, raped and displaced people. El Salvador was literally thrown in a vortex of bloodshed. But now the number of homicides have sharply decreased since the president Nayib Bukele took office in 2019. The figures reached a historic low of 17.5 homicides per 100,000 people in 2021 due to the crackdown he started. Bukele has attributed El Salvador's decline in homicides to the Territorial Control Plan, his flagship national security strategy which involves modernizing the country's security forces, increasing their presence across the country with a focus on gang strongholds. Bukele had declared a state of emergency on 27 March last year after a particularly violent weekend during which 87 people were killed. Under the emergency measures, which have been extended several times, certain constitutional rights such as the right to assembly have been curtailed and the security forces have been given more leeway to carry out arrests. The sentences for gang membership have also been increased. And this first batch of 2,000 gang members being shifted to the newly built mega prison is a part of that very initiative by President Bukele. We hope you would like this new video. Thank you so much for watching.